Hi guys, welcome to an in-depth video on the best F2P build for Lyney. Using this build, you can deal 300k damage within 5 to 6 seconds to the opponents, that too with C0 Lyney and R1 F2P Weapon. I'm also going to talk about the best artifact sets and team composition for him, but before we do that, it's really important for you to understand Lyney's kit and how his abilities work. So Lyney has a special level 2 charged attack called Prop Arrow, which deals pyro damage to the enemies, and it also spawns a green Malkin hat which taunts nearby opponents and stays on the field for 4 seconds. If this hat is destroyed or if its duration expires, it will fire off a pyrotechnic strike at one nearby enemy, dealing pyro damage. When firing off a prop arrow, if Lyney has more than 60% HP, he will consume a portion of his HP to obtain one prop surplus stack, and you can have maximum of 5 such stacks. These prop stacks can be used to further increase the damage of his elemental skill. His skill is pretty simple. It deals AoE pyro damage and heals Lyney. But let's say if you have any prop stack, then this skill will clear all the stacks and deal additional damage based on the number of prop stacks you have. Also, if a green Malkin hat is present on the field while using this skill, then it will explode and deal AoE pyro damage equal to that of a pyrotechnic strike, and this damage is considered as charge attack damage. Using elemental burst turns Lyney into a green Malkin cat, which is different from the green Malkin hat. This cat deals one instance of pyro damage to opponents, and when the duration ends, it deals AoE pyro damage. Using elemental burst also grants Lyney one prop stack and also spawns one green Malkin hat. Now for his passive talents, the first one is if Lyney consumes HP when firing off a prop arrow, the green Malkin hat upon hitting an opponent will restore 3 energy to Lyney and increases damage dealt by 80%. The second passive talent is that the damage Lyney deals to opponents affected by pyro will receive 60% damage bonus, and also each party member other than Lyney will cause the damage dealt to be increased by an additional 20%, and maximum 100% damage can be increased this way. In simpler terms, if we add 2 pyro characters in Lyney's party, then he is going to deal additional 100% damage to opponents affected by pyro. Now that we know how his kit works, let's talk about his build. But before moving on to the build, let me highlight one thing that most of you might have missed in his kit. I did some testing on the prop stacks, and looks like even though the limit of the maximum stacks is 5, but at most you can only have 2 stacks, because after using 2 prop arrows, Lyney's HP drops below 60% and you cannot gain any more stacks because of the HP threshold. Let's say even if you use elemental burst, still that would be 3 stacks at max. So this is something that you should remember. Moving on to the team composition, based on his second passive talent, it is important for Lyney to have 2 pyro supports in the party, and the 2 best pyro supports in the game are Xiangling and Bennett, no doubts on that. So for the final party member, I'm choosing Kazuha because of the additional pyro damage bonus that he will provide, and again because of his second passive skill. Lyney deals bonus damage to opponents who are affected by pyro, so it's better to use Anemo or Dendro support so that his opponents are always affected by pyro. But let's say you don't have Kazuha, then I would recommend using Dendro support so that you can trigger burning on opponents and Lyney can benefit from his second passive skill all the time. Now that the team composition is done, let's talk about his build. Before talking about the weapon, I want to discuss about his artifacts. The 2 best set of artifacts for him are 2-piece Crimson and 2-piece Gladiator, or 4-piece Wondrous Troop. I did a comparison of both these sets and did not see any major difference in charge attack damage numbers. And the only reason I'm choosing 2-piece Crimson and 2-piece Gladi for him is because of the pyrotechnic damage and elemental burst damage multipliers. Look at the numbers, it's 339% and 662%. So now if you are going to choose 4-piece Wondrous Troop, then you are missing some DPS over here. Talking about these artifacts, I am using Sands Attack, Pyro Goblet and Crit Damage Circlet. His stats are crit rate is 51%, crit damage is 196% and pyro damage bonus is 61%, but that goes up to 95% after using Kazuha. Finally, which weapon should you use for Lyney? I have gone through all F2P bows in the game and the two best choices for him are Song of Stillness, which is the new bow from Fontaine region, and Hamayumi. I again did some comparison between these two bows, and as you can see, the difference is clear. I did see bigger numbers for Song of Stillness as compared to Hamayumi. Then again, if you are going to use Hamayumi, then you are losing some DPS for Pyrotechnic Strike and Elemental Burst damage. So I prefer using Song of Stillness. But let's say you have not yet unlocked this bow from Fontaine, then Hamayumi is also a good choice of weapon for him. Moving on to his talents, you definitely need to level up all the 3 talents for Lyney. Now let's talk about the on-field execution for this build and team. Start with using Gopa first, then Kazuha skill, and then switch to Lyney. Use 2 charge attacks and don't forget to collect the red chili left by Gopa. After this, you can start spamming elemental burst of your supports. First is Xiangling, next is Kazuha, and finally Bennett. After this, switch back to Lyney and quickly use 1 charge attack and then use his elemental burst. Once he finishes his burst, you can use his elemental skill to clear all prop stacks and deal increased damage. Let's say if you don't have his elemental burst, then you can use 2 charge attacks and then use his skill and repeat this until you charge your burst. That's all I have about the best F2P build for Lyney. Now for those who want to know what weapons and artifacts I'm running for the supports, please enjoy the rest of the video and thank you so much for watching.
大魔術